So if you're walking alone in the woods, would you rather come across a bear or a man?
I've come across bears. I do a lot of hiking, so they're not like.
What kind of bears?
Thankfully not a grizzly, but black bears. A lot in Wyoming. Was it Wyoming? Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. They kind of leave you alone. As long as you look down and you back away slowly, you don't make yourself look big. You're fine.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've actually come across a bear. Were you alone or walking with
no,
friends?
I was
or
with my mom
with a
and my
group?
sister. Yeah.
Okay.
We were backpacking.
And so you did come across an adult black bear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what did you guys do in that situation?
We really just, it was like far enough away that it wasn't like, right at our faces or something, thankfully. Otherwise, my sister would have freaked out and run away, which would have been really bad. But, you really just, you mind your business. You look down, you back away, you don't look, you don't want to scare the bear, obviously, or make any sudden movement. So it's really just look down, back away slowly. Which I feel like could be the same thing you could do if you see a scary man alone in the woods. You look down, back away slowly. So I think it could go either way.
Okay.
But
so
I don't think
you did do that with the black bear, though. You looked down, walked back. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you see them, like if you're backpacking, when you see them, you just kind of
Sure.
they just mind their own business. They don't really want your
Did you
stuff.
ever do that? Have you ever crossed paths with a man and looked down?
I feel like every time I see a man, I don't want to make eye contact.
Oh shit. Okay. All right.
I don't want to look.
All right. What about you?
My friends and I were talking about this debate the other day, and I think that it's funny because I would say a bear. I think that if you were to reverse the question respectfully, I don't know what guys say to this, but I would say a bear because I know that at least the worst thing that he could do is kill me. A man could do a variety of things.
Okay. Well, I'll get everybody's answers. We won't linger on this one for too long, but I'll get people's answers.
A bear, because that's easier to scare away.
A bear's easier to scare away?
I think. Isn't you're supposed to just scream at them and they run away? That's the tales I've heard.
Depends on the bear.
I'd rather the bear still, though. I don't know. I'll take my chances.
Okay, so the bear. All right, what about you?
I love bears. I wish I could be close to a bear and it not kill me, but I'd rather it be a man.
Okay.
I'll take the bear any day.
You guys are crazy. A man for sure.
A man. I would say bear because I like large animals.
That's a terrible answer.
Well, bears are also dumber.
Yeah.
If a bear I would rather be probably being mauled by a bear would suck, but a man could sneak up on you, they could kill you in lots of other really sadistic ways. A bear is just gonna maul you.
And you can
But if you're lost in the woods and you find a man that could help you out or build a fire or build a place for you to stay over the night wherever you guys are lost, I feel like they'd have a lot more survival skills than at least I would have if I'm lost in the woods.
Oh, I thought this was
help you though.
Yeah.
I thought this was a
What
man with a
would
motive.
help you, though?
to
That's
kill
the
you.
whole thing
Many
about
men.
finding a man in the middle of the woods would be the dangerous part.
But what if they're just hiking?
I'd rather be alone.
What if you get lost and there's a man hiking and he has all these survival skills that you personally don't have that could help you in that situation?
There's a lot of men that would help women. Yeah.
But there's also a lot of men that would do the opposite, and it's are you going to take your chances of I rather trust myself?
Here, so let me ask. So this sort of seems to, there's this assumption here that the man would be bad in the situation. What percentage, so the frame here is you pluck a totally random man out of, say, the entire population of the United States. Totally random man. So what percentage of men do you think would attack you?
A high one?
I feel like it's
So-
also the fact that the man knows that he's alone with you and that he can get away with anything. It'd be very different
Not
if you find a
necessarily,
man
but-
Well, we
on
don't
the side of the
really know.
road. On the side of the road, it'd be okay, that man will probably help me. But in the middle of nowhere, it's you really don't know, and I wouldn't want to take my chances because I just value my life a little
Okay.
too much.
So, asking the question, since we are talking about you're just picking, it's a totally random man. It could be a good man, could be a bad man, could be a neutral man, I guess. So the good man could conceivably, say you're lost in the forest, he could help you survive. Could be a neutral man who just walks right by you, goes along his way. It could be a bad man who, murderer, whatever. What percentage of men do you think, if presented with this scenario, would actually attack you in some way, whatever way that might be?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, starting with you, we'll go around the table.
I don't know, probably not a large percent.
What do you think?
I don't know. That's such a broad question, I feel like. I wouldn't, like, of the US population, you mean? Was that what you said?
Yeah,
Or-
sure.
I don't know. A low percentage, I would say. Not a very high percent necessarily,
Give us
but
10%, 20%,
like 30 maybe.
30%. 30% of men
Is that
would.
a lot? I don't
Well,
know.
we'll get
Okay,
everybody's
never
answers.
mind.
What about you? What do you think?
I would say maybe like 20%, like 1 in 5.
One in 5 men would
Like
try to murder you.
I don't know. I think it's really context dependent too. Like what is he doing in the woods alone?
Well,
you know,
it's just you've just plopped a random man.
it's just
in
like
the
by
woods.
chance.
Totally random man.
I would say probably 20%.
So 1 in 5 men would be inclined to murder a woman if given the chance.
Oh.
I don't really know. Like, maybe I would say it's probably lower, like in reality in terms of like murder rates or whatever.
Okay.
I just think that
Grid One Motorsports donated $200.
Yo, good to see you,
Let's
Grid
be
One.
honest, you will never see the man, as he knows why will be nothing but a drain on resources and decrease his chance of survival. He will simply watch as you give the bear indigestion. F you all.
Okay, thank you.
he donated $200 to say that. It's so embarrassing.
That's so
You don't want to invoke his wrath. Trust me. Okay, first girl's answer is mute because she was. What? Oh, okay, I thought the microphones were muted. What percentage of men?
I can't even think
Well,
about it.
'cause
I think
if I
like
recall, you said like
a
it would
high
be,
one.
Who
I
said
would-
majority of someone?
I
said
said a high one.
a
I
high
feel
one.
like okay.
What's high?
I feel like 30 to 35, like maybe even pushing 40. I feel men are
40%
just
of men.
scary as a woman, and like if you're ever alone, just in the streets in the city, is already scary enough, and there are no bears. Imagine a scenario: there's like no one else but just you and a random man.
Okay, so random 40% of men would opt to attack you in this situation. What about you?
I'd say a very low percent.
Did you say man or bear?
I said man.
Okay,
I'd rather be
alright.
a man. Yeah.
Sure.
And
Wait, be a man?
I'd rather it be a man.
Oh, it's be. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
I'd rather the person in the woods be a man than a bear.
Sure. What percentage do you think?
A very small percentage. I think there'd be some men that'd be happy for like another person to find another
Sure.
person in the woods, and
Okay.
I think there'd be a low percentage that would want to kill you.
What percentage?
2%, maybe
2%,
1%.
1%. Okay. What do you think?
I think there'd actually be a pretty low percentage who want to like full on kill you, maybe like 7%, but like a good 30% that would like do something very questionable, even if it's like the lowest form of like sexual harassment, but like for sure make you uncomfortable. Maybe even like 40%.
So, okay. What? So when you mean like they would essay you? 40%
Like
would
something.
essay.
40% would make you uncomfortable. Like they would do something that.
Well,
made you
couldn't a man just make you uncomfortable just by walking past you in the woods? Not even doing anything?
No, I'm pretty sure you get my point. Like 40%. Like for example, one would like, I don't know, like slap your ass or something like that. Like something that like is
Walking.
not.
Okay. All right.
No.
That's okay. You said man. What percentage though do you think would
Like
do
to
something?
murder or to like, or like what are we talking about here?
Just
Anything?
try to say essay instead if you have to
sorry,
talk about
I'm sorry.
that.
I don't know, like 5 to 10. It depends
5
what
to
we're talking
5
about.
to
Yeah, like
10% of men would
5%.
try to essay or murder.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
I think like very small, like 0.1%.
Okay. What about you?
Yeah, I would say like 1 to 2%.
But you did pick bear, if I recall.
I did only
Correct.
because I am striving to be a large animal vet. So I think that I could actually help the bear if it needed it, you know?
You're not really engaging in good faith with the question, but
She just wants to come in contact with a bear in the wild. I think that's
I know,
what
but
it
you're
is.
kind of like dancing around the point of the question. But okay. So the numbers some of you guys provided were pretty high.
Well, here's what I've got. I've got, for the first one, she thinks that 33 million men, 33 million men would want to, and somehow do horrible things to you, which would include murder. The second one's 55 million men, by your estimate, would want
You gotta
to
fix that, Nick.
do something horrible to you in that situation. The other one's estimates were still beyond high, but you really think that 33 million men in the United States want to murder you in a forest if they could? Like, honestly, do you think that?
No, I was kind of just shooting a random number. I wasn't like, I feel like it's so broad. I don't know the percentages for that. So no, I meant not a lot. Let's just go with not a lot.
Okay, and then the other one's roughly 55 million. You think roughly 55 million men want to murder you in a forest?
No.
That is, no.
I would like to say that like the misconception and like the high estimates are coming from the idea that as women, we are kind of conditioned to fear the idea of getting attacked by a man and be afraid of that. And so our estimate would be high because we already think the probability of getting attacked would be high, given that women are not necessarily safe when they walk alone. I think that's where the misconception is.
Yeah, doesn't that seem to you to be illegitimate though? If your estimates are so high that you believe that as many as 55 million men in your native nation would just murder you in a forest if they happen to be alone with you? I mean,
okay,
don't
so
you think that kind of conditioning might be a little bit absurd?
I'll retract my estimate if it bothers you, but I would say that
well,
like
I mean,
I can stand by the fact that like maybe there's an
why would you retract it?
overinflated
Because
estimate.
it bothers me. Wouldn't you retract it?
Well, you seem a little
because you
bothered.
don't
That's
believe,
why.
Yeah, wouldn't you retract it though because you don't actually believe that 55 million men in your native nation would murder you horribly if they were in a forest with you?
You're right. I think that it was inaccurate, but I'm saying that even though it was inaccurate, I'm speaking to the inaccuracy and saying the reason why was because lots of women fear being attacked by men.
Yeah, but that doesn't sound like it's very justified that they fear that.
Are you a woman?
When we start talking about the actual, do I need to be a woman to note if it's justified by the numbers, whether you should fear that or not? I don't understand.
I don't
Shouldn't
think
I be
this
able
is
to
a
use my
numbers
logical
game.
brain, even if I don't have a vagina, to take note as to whether or not this is possible or not possible? Do I need to be a woman to note that 55 million men obviously and clearly don't want to kill you in a forest? Did I need to be a woman to know that?
I think you're a little stuck on the number. I think like really what we're talking about is the female experience, which you can't speak to.
Yeah, but I can speak to the male experience. And don't you think the male experience can speak to the male experience of how many men I think would actually want to hurt you?
Well, I'm really happy that you wouldn't hurt me in the
How
forest.
come only your biased opinion matters? The male experience, I would think, would be able to speak much more highly as to how many men would actually be determined to do some harm to you if you were in the middle of a forest and they came across you in the forest.
You're right, but this is a podcast of women, and we're talking about women, so that's why.
Well, it's a podcast of women, but there's clearly men on the panel. It's not our
Well, you're
job
talking a lot for what it's worth.
It's not our job to kiss your ass because you're a woman. I'm having an adult conversation with you. So
I didn't ask you to kiss my ass.
I don't know why I need to look at everything from feminist standpoint theory or from your perspective when you so easily dismiss mine. I'm telling you that your number's absurd. It makes no sense. And as you retract it, you very quickly retracted it because you realized how absurd it was. Why would you say that I have to be a woman in order to speak to this? That seems insane.
I didn't say that. I said that I was talking about my estimate, and you're right, my estimate was overinflated, but I explained to you why it was overinflated.
Yeah, I know, but the reasoning, so I still have to take everything through a logical prism. So even if you tell me the reason that it was overinflated is because of X, that still has to make sense. Saying that it was this way because I just felt like it should be that way, that doesn't actually make any logical sense. You're not basing that on anything other than how you feel, right?
Right.
No, she based it on the fact that we're conditioned. We're actually taught to think this way, not just by our mothers, but by our fathers, especially like in the Hispanic household. Like our fathers will be the one that tells you, don't trust the man in the wood.
Yeah, but that's really kind of strange because even right here on this panel, the estimates are wildly different as to how many women think that they would or would not be assaulted or murdered by men. So when you say we are taught like as a collective, that clearly can't be true, as there's many women on this very panel who gave wildly different answers, right?
Yes, but not every man is a good father who teaches his daughters to be wary of a certain type of man. You know, not everyone is brought up in the same way.
That sounds like an indictment of being raised by mothers only.
Mothers only? What do you mean?
I was like, there
Well,
would be
if you're
nothing
saying-
wrong with that, but
Yeah, there wouldn't, but I'm confused on your point.
Well, because if you're saying that it would require some kind of strong man in the home to condition a daughter to know what type of man to look for, wouldn't that be an indictment of being in only a single mother home, that probably wouldn't be good for a kid?
No, because I started off that statement saying that it's not just mothers that do that, that it's also fathers. So therefore, like, it's both parents who have the ability to teach their children about these things.
Well, was it your father or your mother who told you that such a wildly disproportionate amount of men were going to assault you in a forest if you came across one?
If I'm gonna be honest, it was both, but it was mainly my father who wouldn't even let me go to a sleepover because of things like this.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a distinction between not wanting to let your teenage daughter go to sleepovers under certain types of conditions, rather than an indictment of men and that men are going to just do horrible things to you. That seems kind of silly, right?
Well, no, because he actually like taught me like why it wasn't, like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't just say you can't go to a sleepover because I don't want you to. He told me the reasoning behind it and like gave me the whole talk, you know.
Yeah, so that's not really an indictment of men. That might have just been an indictment of the situation, right?
I love
Yeah,
that we
but
said.
I think what she's saying is that the numbers are so different because everyone has a different background experience of what they heard from growing up.
Exactly.
Nobody actually knows what percentage. We're just all guessing. So some have a higher percentage because that's what the information they received growing up. Some have a lower percentage because that's the information they received, but no one really knows.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's why we're kind of having a back and forth on it, right?
Yeah.
We can assume that nobody knows the answer for sure, but we can still reason things out to make a determination. So, like, let me ask this question a slightly different way. Let's assume all of you were trapped in a forest. You were in a horrible plane wreck, and you were actually trapped in a forest, and there was a bear there. Now, the bear hadn't been overtly aggressive, but you have been avoiding it like the plague because you didn't want to find out. You're trapped in the forest. The bear is there. You happen to come across a man on the trail who has not noticed you yet. Would you ask him for help?
100%.
Go ahead, going around the table, would you ask him for help?
Oh, yeah. If
Yeah,
I'm lost in a
next.
forest, yeah.
Yeah, would you ask for help?
before I answer this, I think that like I can see where your logic is going, where it's like, oh, why would you trust a random man if you were endangered?
Just answer the question, please.
Well, okay, yes, but I think I know where you're going with this. That's just what I'm gonna say.
Okay, and then next one, would you ask for help?
Probably not.
Probably not. You'd stay trapped in the middle of a forest with a bear. Okay, next one. Would you ask for help?
Yeah, I would if it was a man or woman or they or anything. Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
ask
but it's a
him for
man
help.
specifically.
Yeah,
Oh, and
I
he
would.
has a rifle,
Yeah.
right? And,
Yeah,
okay.
I still would.
And then next, would you ask him for help?
I'd eye him out first.
Yeah, I know, but you've eyed him out. He looks like a normal man, just like Ted Bundy did and Jeffrey Dahmer did. He looks like a normal person.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then next, would you?
Yes. But I think if you put the situation
Hang
like
on, no qualifiers yet. Hang on. I just want to get everybody's answer. And then next,
Yes, I would.
you would. And then next.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, so now we can give all the qualifiers now that the whole table has gone around. So can you guys explain to me the logic of when you're asked the question, would you rather be trapped in the middle of the forest with a bear or a man? You say the bear, but then when asked if you were trapped in a forest with a bear and a man came along to give you help out of the forest, that you would ask the man for help. Can you explain that to me? I really would like to understand the logic.
I don't think I even answered actually the first time around. I just said I've seen a bear. So I don't, I don't think I answered.
No, you said you would prefer the bear because
Oh.
you've seen him.
Well-
And that you know how to deal with them because you're an experienced hiker and stuff.
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know. I think being trapped with another person is obviously probably preferable just because you can have help, like building shelter, whatever, finding water, whatever you can. And then But then with a bear, if you're trapped in the woods, you're pretty much always with the bear. That's their home.
Okay.
That's where they
Okay.
live. So
And then next gal, can you tell me why you would do that in contrast to your own logic? I'm just curious.
I think that it would just be out of desperation. Like in that sense, like it wouldn't be who's more dangerous or whatever the argument is supposed to be. It would just be a matter of like, you know, oh my God, there's a bear over there, and we're two humans, and that's a bear. I don't think it's not on the basis of gender.
Well, I didn't say it was on the basis of gender, but can you understand that it's really, really strange to me to hear if you're asked, would you rather be trapped in the forest with a man or a bear? And then when you say a bear, I say, and if you were trapped with a bear and it hadn't even shown signs of aggression, but you hadn't approached it because it could, and a man came by, would you ask for help? You say yes. Do you see why that sounds absurd to me?
No.
No, well, because in contrast to this, you're basically trusting a man the same exact way to help you get out of this situation. But if you were put in the situation with a man, you would not expect a man to help you get out of the situation. It makes no sense. It's illogical.
In that sense, first of all, this isn't really a logic game, so I don't want to necessarily approach it 100% with logic. I think that there's some legitimacy to approach the situation with emotion, because I think everyone would be kind of scared. I think in this situation, you would be trusting a man to protect you against a bear, as opposed to trusting yourself to make the decision against whether or not you're going to choose the man or the bear.
Yeah, so then why wouldn't you prefer to be trapped with the man instead of the bear if your assumption is that the man's going to protect you from the bear?
Well, I guess you could say that I could approach the man when I saw the bear and have to trust that he's not going to attack me too, but like, I guess then it's just kind of a lesser of two evils.
But then why wouldn't you prefer to be trapped with a man over a bear if you're hoping that the man would extract you from being trapped with a bear?
I don't know which situation you're presenting here. Is it you alone and there's one or the other, or both at the same time?
Yeah, if it's you alone or there's one or the other, you can be trapped with a bear, or you can be trapped with a man. You prefer to be trapped with a bear. However, in this situation where you are trapped with a bear, you would still, if a man was coming by, request his aid in making sure that you could get out of being trapped with a bear. That's nonsensical. It makes no sense. It's completely irrational.
Humans don't always behave rationally.
Yeah, but when they don't behave rationally, shouldn't they behave rationally?
Not necessarily.
You think that human beings should behave irrationally?
We're not robots. Like, it's not like
should
we're
I try to
calculating the
put a
logic
square
every time we
tire
make
on
a
my car?
decision. Like, do you always behave rationally?
Yes.
100% all the time.
Yes.
You've never gotten emotional and like made a rash comment or anything like that?
Just because I'm emotional doesn't mean I become irrational. But to my knowledge, I've never become irrational. It's possible, perhaps, that I have had too much to drink at certain points in my life or something like this, where I've lost my faculties. But yes, when I'm in my normal state of mind, I don't believe that I become irrational, no.
Okay. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think that irrationality is something that generally people strive towards.
I just think you're kind of oversimplifying the human experience by saying that, like, you know, you're a perfectly rational being and all these things would just innately make sense to you. Like, there's plenty of evidence that people make quote unquote illogical decisions, by your definition, all the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they should.
Well, I don't think that humans should or shouldn't behave. No one wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to behave illogically.
Yeah, I know. So they shouldn't do that then.
I like that you wake up every morning and decide that you're going to behave logically. That doesn't mean that you will.
Yeah, but I should.
Well,
right?
Okay, everyone should, sure.
Right, that's my whole point. So if everybody should, then just saying that, hey, not everybody does, isn't really much of an argument, because we still agree that they should behave rationally. So when we have these scenarios and you kind of give me an irrational logical basis for why it is that you choose A over B, shouldn't that question your foundations? Shouldn't you question your own foundations then in your own emotions to think, well, wait a second, perhaps I'm behaving irrationally and I shouldn't do that. By your own admission, you should not behave irrationally, right?
Like, I see your point, sure, but I don't know. I don't think that I like have necessarily like the strongest motivation to like perfectly behave rationally at all times. I always think that there's like a better like an answer that's better explained by the context in that situation.
Well, I mean, sure, there could be answers which are better explained in the context of the situation, but they would be rational answers, right?
You
Yeah, I
really
mean,
like this word rational. Do you have any others?
Do you prefer logical?
I just-
I mean, you
I-
seem to
you
like
just
the
seem
word
so- you
emotional.
just so- you
Do you
just
know any
seem-
others?
Sure. I just
Yeah, sure.
I just think that you just seem really stuck on the idea of logic, and like I just don't think that this is really an argument about logic unless you're trying to prove a point about, you know, women.
Oh, it's illogical, yeah.
about
That's
women
my whole
supposedly
point.
thinking it's illogical to fear being alone in the woods with a man.
Well, it seemed to be by your own logic that it's an irrational fear if you would still allow a man to extract you out of a situation with a bear, why you wouldn't just want to be trapped with a man to begin with. That seems totally irrational. It's essentially the same scenario. You just remove one item, and suddenly the entire situation changes, and there's really no reason for it to change. It doesn't really make any sense. They're both still strangers in this scenario. They're both still men in this scenario. You're still actually technically trapped with both of them in this scenario, but you would still
you're
have
right.
the
It's so
preference of the bear.
different though, because like if there's a bear and a man, it's like a whole different situation. Because like, what man in the right mind is gonna still think about like SAing you while there's a bear right there? Like that's like.
Well, couldn't
like,
you
that's
just
how
take
she
out the
said
bear
it's
and
two
then get
humans,
ya?
one bear at that point.
That's what I'm saying is that
It's
there's
not
two
man,
threats at this
woman,
point. It's not just
bear.
one.
It's just two humans. That like that's why we're choosing that option, because it's just like those two humans against the bear is like way better logically.
Yeah, I know. But if that's the case, then why would you choose the bear to begin with? That makes no sense, logically.
Well, but if you're alone with only the man, that is scarier than you are with both. You have more chances to just face. I guess the bear would be, if you want to like say it, it's a greater evil because you can't really communicate and say like, please don't attack me. But still, is much like, as a woman, safer to just like not be alone with a stranger, and that stranger being also a male, like a full man. Like,
But yeah, if you were, by your own admission, to ask a stranger who is a man for help and assistance because you were trapped with a bear, you're essentially putting the same trust in him as if you were trapped with him.
because he would also probably be scared of the bear, so he would probably put his life first instead of
He's trying
thinking
to
of
say
anything
that it's
else.
contradicting to your answer because
Well, he doesn't
if you
even
would
know
ask
that
a
the bear
man,
is there, right? He doesn't even know because you're asking him for help.
But like
Doesn't
once
even
he
know
sees
about the bear. The
why
bear is
he gonna
irrelevant to
attack
him. But you would ask him for help to extract you from the situation, thus putting your hands,
Well,
your life in the hands of a strange man.
Using your own words, it would be more rational for the man to be afraid of the bear compared to me.
Just Gerald donated $200. I just like. You know, like. We should just like. I don't know, like. Like a human like isn't like. I just like. Don't want to be wrong, like.
It's literally my
Yeah,
English.
no, I agree
literally
with
my
you.
English.
I think that there's a good possibility that a man would be less afraid of a bear than you would be. But the point of the question is to ask you who you would prefer to be trapped with, a strange man or a bear. And the answer is a bear, but you would still put your trust in a strange man who you did not know to extract you from the situation of being with a bear. That's where it becomes irrational to me, where I lose the plot. I don't understand anymore. Because it seems like you're just doing the same exact thing.
do you guys get what he's saying or no?